Today I fucked up by applying for a job, getting fired, and changing the job advertisement. I turned 18 and was looking for my first job, having had a sheltered existence. I searched and searched, applying for job after job on Craigslist. Most of these jobs required experience, even entry-level jobs like dishwashing, which is fair enough as these jobs do take a while to become competent at. However, this was not good for me. I finally found a job ad which said experience preferred but not essential. I pounced on this opportunity. Since I lived near the business and was the first person to respond, I was given the job. Now, I had a sheltered existence and was not a good worker. On my first shift I messed up the change, was too slow dishwashing, tried putting the soft drinks cans in the fridge too perfectly direction and spacing which ended up taking too much time, and I couldn't remember which burrito had which toppings. After about an hour, the owner paid me and told me that I could go home, apologizing that this wouldn't work out. I went home and hopped back on Craigslist and I saw the ad for that job again, but this time it said, experience required. TLDR applied for job, got fired after an hour, changed the ad from experience preferred to experience required. You should reapply. You now technically have experience. While not the same thing, this reminds me of one of my first jobs I had. I had zero experience with many aspects of the job and life in general, especially the commercial dishwasher. So I asked the employee I was training under how to operate the machine. She rolled her eyes, turned to another worker, and said, "Poor princess can't operate a dishwasher," and then laughed at me. That was my last shift. You got fired after an hour? And they had you dishwashing, cooking, stocking, and cashiering in all that time. Even the first day doing that would be terrible. All jobs listings say experience required, it's done. Just apply to any and all basic entry-level positions. Any half-decent employer will gain you and slowly get you up to speed. Maybe they should have told you how to do these things. Somewhere along the way companies just decided that training was for suckers. Sounds like the employer needed more experience with writing job requirements. And now thanks to you, they do. Any employer that fires you after an hour because you can't recall ingredients or are being meticulous about putting things to a job or employer worth having. If it was only 1 hour and you truly did nothing egregious, the problem is with the employer, not you. So they ask entry level and just drop you with an assortment of random tasks out of the blue. I mean, as far as I know, even for flipping burgers in McDonald's they will try to give you training in each task before assigning you to it. In an hour, they had you stock, wash dishes, cook, and cashier? Where was the training? I've worked food, and even in a terribly disorganized place, would keep people on one station for a couple weeks, before showing them the next thing. It sounds like this place had unrealistic expectations. Go out for another dish job, ignore the no experience part. Most spots won't expect their dish people to cook or cash. You might be asked to help expo, help run food, or help stock, but I never cared if my dishes were fast at their side work. Just get good at the main job. Why were you dishwashing, making change, and making burritos? No one in their right mind would make you a chef, cashier, and dishwasher all at once on your first day of work. All in the first hour you washed dishes, stocked cans, dealt with customers, and had to remember burrito toppings. There's such things as giving people time to acclimatize. This place is a shit workplace. They had shit recruitment ads, and then threw a newbie at everything and then judged them as incompetent. Yeah, so would they if they were treated the same way in a different field, like sending them off to the military and immediately tell to take a rifle and start fighting without a boot camp. You were screwed over, and judged for being screwed over, and now they are looking for something they can screw over harder. Totally understand, people saying the owner was a douche haven't worked food service with someone that's incompetent. Yes, we all start somewhere, but that clearly isn't what he was looking for. Some jobs have the ability and patience to invest time into molding and training new workers, and some do not. So you were a dishwasher, waiter, and stocker. Was there anyone else working there? And how bad did you have to be let go in an hour? Were you not given constructive criticism or advice? Did you ignore the advice? Did you lose your cool and attempt to decapitate your boss? Seems to me like your boss was a nightmare, or you were. Either way, you've got something to build on. These places are going to have a hard time finding people who are magically experienced without having any training. Even something seemingly simple like dishwashing or stocking has nuances that are learned on the job. Not to mention every workplace does things differently. Some places might be incredibly anal about the smallest details, while others might be super lax. There is no way that anyone can just hop into a new environment and be able to function flawlessly. These workplaces need to get over themselves. Forget about them. They wanted an applicant they didn't need to train first. You weren't given a fair chance. Try and put fast learner on your resume. Unless you're really not, especially with your lack of experience, this implies that you will be a good candidate as long as they're willing to train you. No one wants to teach anymore. They just expect people to know exactly what they're doing. I'm surprised that the owner didn't even try to teach you anything and just kicked you in an hour. In my country, you are taught how to work, then if you don't learn of mess up you are kicked, but that usually takes at least a month, not an hour. If a job requires experience, it's not entry level. Hope this helps you in the future. Edit. Also, the owner is a scumbag prick if they decide to fire you after an hour. We've all gotten fired from part-time jobs. It's part of the game. Not your fault. Whoever hired you sounds like an asshole. Keep your chin up. I hate to say it, but get a shitty job at a fast food restaurant. I'm assuming this was a fast casual place. But a fast food restaurant will give you some skills that actually do translate to other jobs. People get jobs off Craigslist. Yeah, once I applied for a job that said experience not necessary, will train. Gave my resume, which clearly showed I had no experience at all. Was asked for an interview. Went to the interview and the interviewer said, "Do you have any experience?" I said no, but the job said you will train, right? She pinched her face up in a disgusted look and said yes. It went downhill from there. Why put will train when you won't? The rats. The fact they didn't train you for the first hour is wild. You're just expected to know. It's some real bullshit that you were expected to be good at all that in only an hour. Too much all at once will just dribble out the brain. Apply for all entry-level jobs whether it says experience required or not. You've no idea the number of times I've hired someone with no experience because they come across well in the interview. Well, the OP didn't fuck up. They tried. The actual fuck up should come from the owner. An OP, look at the bright side, the owner still paid you. That's a rough situation to be in. I used to be a porter and I'd often get 16-year-old kids coming in as pot washers. I was very patient with them. It's their first job, how the fuck are they meant to be automatically speedy? Hopefully you find yourself a restaurant kitchen with a kind chef who will give you half a chance. Did you apply again since you now have experience? When a company says experience required, what they are saying is they want an employee that is already trained the way they like. That is obviously impossible. Employers that ask for only experience are just about as ignorant as they come. What will happen is they hire an experienced person who is trained differently than they expect. So they must now retrain them, which is significantly harder than simply training someone right in the first place. What job is this? Now you have experience. Definitely their fault for not training you properly if they stated no experience necessary. What kind of idiot expects a new employee in an entry-level job to be able to work washing dishes, working as a cashier and working in the kitchen all in the first hour of their first shift? That's ludicrous that even dishwashing jobs are requiring experience now. Dishwashing was my first job, and even 24 years ago it was so simple my unmedicated ADHD had it down in less than a week. I called my colleague by the wrong name for 6 months, nobody corrected me. After an hour? What job has no training at the start? Kitchen work is harsh. But you'd think they'd give a little leeway for a newbie. This is sad, dude. You got fired after an hour because you couldn't handle menial tasks.